All right, let's dive deep, shall we? Today we're taking a look at some seriously intriguing questions about what happens to us after we die.
Oh, yeah.
We're cracking open Allan Kardec's The Spirits book,
Mm-hmm.
specifically diving into Chapter 3 of Part 2,
Okay.
The Return from the Corporeal to the Spirit Life.
Sounds spooky.
Even the title sends shivers down my spine.
Yeah. It's a fascinating chapter, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's important to remember the unique structure of Kardec's work. He wasn't just theorizing about the afterlife.
Right.
He was actually, posing questions
Oh, okay.
to spirits,
Oh.
communicating through mediums,
Oh.
and meticulously documenting their responses.
So we're not just dealing with philosophical speculation here. We're talking about claimed firsthand accounts from the spirit world.
Right.
That's what makes this so compelling.
It's pretty wild.
So let's jump right in. What does this chapter reveal about what happens to the soul immediately after death?
Well, one of the first things Kardec tackles is the question of individuality.
Okay.
Do we retain our unique identity after death? Or do we somehow merge into some kind of universal consciousness?
That's a question I think a lot of us ponder. Like, do we still get to be us after all this?
That's the big question, isn't it? And the spirit's answer, as relayed through the mediums, is a resounding yes.
Okay.
Individuality persists. Your soul, your consciousness, all the things that make you you,
Yeah.
they remain distinct, even without the physical body.
Okay, that's a relief. But if we're not tied to our physical bodies anymore, how exactly do we maintain that individuality? What keeps us from just dissolving into the ether?
This is where the concept of the perispirit comes in. It's described as a kind of fluidic body,
Okay.
composed of the essence of our planet. That acts as a link between the soul and the spirit world.
So it's not a physical body in the traditional sense, but more like an energetic blueprint
Yeah.
that allows our soul to exist and function in the spirit realm.
Precisely.
Interesting.
And the perispirit even retains the appearance of our last incarnation,
Oh, wow.
allowing spirits to recognize each other in the afterlife.
So we're not just shapeless blobs of energy floating around. That makes the afterlife seem a little less abstract, a little more relatable somehow. But hold on, if the soul persists and retains its individuality, does this mean we're essentially talking about eternal life?
That's exactly what the spirits affirm, eternal life. But it's crucial to understand that they're referring to the eternal nature of the spirit, not the physical body.
Okay.
The body is temporary, a vessel for the soul's journey in this material realm. The spirit, however, existed before this life and will continue to exist after.
That's a pretty radical shift in perspective from the way we typically think about death, isn't it?
It certainly challenges the notion of death as an ending. Instead, it's presented as a transition,
Right.
a shedding of the physical form,
Yeah.
but not the end of consciousness.
So how does this transition actually work? What do the spirits say about the process of the soul separating from the body at the moment of death?
Well, it's not quite as simple as flipping a switch.
Right.
They describe it as a gradual disentanglement, a process that can actually vary in speed depending on the individual.
Wait, so the time it takes for the soul to fully separate from the body can differ from person to person. What factors influence that?
The spirits suggest that one of the key factors is the individual's level of attachment to material things during their life. Those who were deeply materialistic, overly focused on possessions and worldly pleasures, might experience a slower, more difficult separation.
That makes sense. If your whole identity is wrapped up in your physical possessions and status, it's going to be harder to let go of that even after death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, individuals who lived more spiritual lives, focused on cultivating their inner world and seeking higher truths, might experience an almost instantaneous separation.
So it's like they've already started to loosen those ties to the material world, making the transition smoother and faster.
Yeah.
But what about those who do experience a more gradual separation? What's that process like?
Well, imagine waking up from a very deep sleep, completely disoriented, and unsure of where you are or even who you are. That's how the spirits describe the initial state of the soul after death.
Oh, wow.
A state of confusion.
That sounds pretty unsettling. How long does this state of confusion typically last?
It varies, depending on the spirit's level of evolution and their understanding of the afterlife.
Okay.
For some, it might be brief, a quick readjustment period.
Yeah.
But for others, it can be a much longer process.
So those who went into death with little or no understanding of what to expect might be in for a more extended period of disorientation.
That's what the spirits suggest. And here's where it gets even more fascinating.
Oh.
They claim that familiarity with Spiritism,
Okay,
with the knowledge of the spirit world and its workings, can actually ease this confusion and shorten its duration.
that's a bold statement.
Mhm.
Are they suggesting that simply knowing about the afterlife can actually impact our experience of it?
Yes. And they even go so far as to say that knowing what to expect can lessen the fear and uncertainty of death.
Hmm. So it's almost like having a roadmap for the afterlife can make the journey smoother, less frightening.
Yeah, like a travel guide.
That's a powerful concept. But let's get back to those who might be experiencing this state of confusion. How exactly does it manifest? What are they going through during this time?
The spirits describe some rather vivid and frankly unsettling scenarios.
Okay.
Imagine, for instance, trying to speak to your loved ones,
Yeah.
to comfort them in their grief, but realizing they can't hear you or even see you.
Oh, wow. I can't even imagine how isolating and disorienting that must feel. It's like being trapped in a nightmare.
And the spirits emphasize that this feeling of disconnect can be incredibly frustrating, especially for those who clung to the belief that this life was all there is.
So in a way, their beliefs, or lack thereof, are shaping their initial experience of the afterlife. That's a powerful thought.
It is, and it leads us to another crucial point the spirits make about the transition to the spirit world. The way you lived your life, the choices you made, the beliefs you held, all of these things shape your initial experience in the afterlife. It's not about punishment or reward,
Okay.
but rather a natural consequence of how you've cultivated your inner being.
That makes sense. It's almost like the afterlife is a reflection of our inner state, a continuation of the journey we began here in the physical world. This is all so incredibly thought-provoking.
It certainly challenges our conventional views on life and death and invites us to consider the profound implications of how we choose to live our lives, knowing that our journey doesn't end with the physical body. But before we delve further into those implications, let's take a moment to let all of this sink in. Welcome back. We're picking up right where we left off, talking about how our earthly experiences and choices have a direct impact on our experience in the spirit world.
Right. It's not some external judgment. It's like our actions have natural consequences and we are who we are on the inside. It's fascinating and a bit daunting, if I'm being honest, but also seems fair.
It does challenge the idea that death is a clean slate, doesn't it? We
Yeah.
carry our consciousness forward with us, the essence of who we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about how this all plays out. You mentioned that people who are overly attached to material possessions might have a tougher time transitioning. What about those who might have been consumed by other things,
What?
like ambition or the pursuit of power?
Yeah.
Would that affect their experience in the afterlife?
That's a good question. Kardec doesn't directly address those specific attachments,
Okay.
but based on what the spirits have revealed about the paraspirit, we can reason that any strong attachment we form in life can tether us to the material world.
So if we're fixated on wealth, status, or even a specific relationship, it makes it harder for our soul to separate from the physical realm.
Exactly. And this goes back to the idea that cultivating a more spiritual life can ease the transition. Focus on things like love, compassion, and selflessness.
So we shift our focus from external to internal things.
Yeah. From the material to the spiritual.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What about the state of confusion? How does that manifest itself in the spirit world? What do the spirits say about it?
Well, some of the descriptions are pretty startling.
Uh,
Imagine trying to speak to your loved ones to comfort them in their grief, but you realize they can't see you or hear you.
I can't even imagine. It would be incredibly frustrating to know you can't comfort them. It would be pure anguish.
And remember, the inability to communicate is just one part of the confusion. The spirits also describe seeing their own bodies,
Oh.
attending their own funerals, but still not really getting that they are no longer in their physical form.
It's almost like being in a dream where you know something isn't right,
Right.
but you can't figure out what it is.
Exactly.
But the stakes are so much higher here.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to the idea of slowly waking up.
It does, and this highlights the importance of the paraspirit. You know, as the soul separates from the physical body, the paraspirit becomes the vehicle for consciousness, allowing the spirit to navigate this new reality.
So the paraspirit is like a copy of our physical form
Mm.
and the bridge between our earthly existence and the
Yeah.
spirit world.
Right, allowing us to perceive and interact in this new realm.
And the more spiritually advanced the spirit is, the easier the transition.
Yeah. The paraspirit will be more refined, and that makes it easier to transition.
So the paraspirit is like our spiritual compass.
It guides us through the initial stages of the afterlife.
I'm curious, do Kardec or the spirits say how long this initial transition takes?
They don't give us any specific time frame. It
Okay.
really depends on the individual. For some, it's a short adjustment period. For others, it can take much longer.
Why would it take longer for some?
They might have had strong earthly attachments or limiting beliefs.
You know, it makes me think about near-death experiences. People talk about feeling peaceful and even euphoric as they transition to another realm. I wonder if those people were already starting to detach from the material world.
It's an interesting thought, and it does suggest that we have some agency here. We aren't just passengers along for the ride.
Right.
Our choices, our beliefs, and our actions can shape our experience of the transition to the afterlife.
So we have a hand in creating our own experience. That's empowering and terrifying all at once.
It adds a lot of responsibility to how we live our lives.
Yeah.
Knowing that this isn't the end of the journey.
It makes you think about what really matters.
Yeah.
If we carry forward the essence of who we are,
Mm.
what do we want that essence to be?
That's a really great question, and it's something we should ask ourselves throughout our lives.
Absolutely. But before we get too deep into this existential stuff, I'd like to learn more about the actual experiences of the afterlife. What awaits us on the other side? What does the spirit world look like? How do we interact with it?
Those are great questions, and Kardec digs into those very topics in the Spirits book. And that's what we'll look at after a quick break.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Allan Kardec's The Spirits book. We've been talking about the transition from the physical to the spirit world, and it's been fascinating and unsettling all at the same time.
It really has. Kardec's work gives us such a unique look at what might be waiting for us after death. And even though the transition can be confusing and disorienting, the spirits say that's just temporary. It's just a part of getting used to this new existence.
It's like we're shedding the limitations of our bodies and going into a realm where there are different rules and consciousness works on a different level. What does that mean for us in terms of experience? What's the spirit world like? How do we interact with it?
Well, the spirits make it clear that the spirit world isn't somewhere else. It's a different way of being. It's all around us. It's intertwined with the physical world. We just can't see it with our physical senses.
So it's not like going somewhere new, but changing the way we see things. We just need to expand our awareness so we can see this reality that has always been there.
That's exactly it. And the paraspirit, that fluid body we were talking about, plays a huge role in this. It's like a sense organ that lets us perceive and interact with the spirit world.
So it's like how our physical bodies have senses to experience the physical world. The paraspirit lets us experience the spirit world.
That's a great way to put it. And just like we can develop our physical senses, we can develop the perceptive abilities of the paraspirit. The more evolved the spirit, the better their paraspirit.
Makes sense.
And that means they can better see and understand the spirit world.
So we continue to grow and evolve even after we've left our physical bodies. It's not like we stop learning and growing.
Absolutely. That's reflected in what the spirits say about what we can do in the spirit world. They talk about learning new things, understanding the universe better, being creative, and even working to help people who are still alive.
Wow. So it's not just chilling out for eternity. It's dynamic, and there's still purpose and growth.
You got it. And the spirits tell us that the spirit world is perfect for growth. We don't have our bodies holding us back. Spirits can move super fast, communicate with their minds, and access incredible knowledge and wisdom.
It's hard to even imagine what kinds of things could we learn in the spirit world that we can't learn here.
I know, right? It's so exciting. The spirits say we might finally understand how the universe works, what consciousness really is, and how everything is connected. We might even be able to connect with loved ones who have died. Not just in dreams, but in a really deep and real way.
It's incredible to think about. It really makes you question what it means to exist and be conscious. Imagine if we could bring that knowledge back here. Think of how that could change things.
I know. And the spirits actually say that the goal isn't to just hang out in the spirit world. It's to use what we learn there to help humanity.
So we evolve in the spirit world and then come back and help everyone else.
Exactly. That's why they say living a moral and spiritual life is so important. It's not about getting rewarded in the afterlife, but about preparing ourselves for this incredible journey.
So it comes back to how we live, what we do, how we treat other people. Those things matter, not just for our lives here, but for our soul's journey after.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most important things we can learn from Kardec. He's not just telling us what might happen after death. He's reminding us to live better lives, to be kind, and to live with purpose. Our journey continues, and we all have a role to play.
It's so powerful. It's not just what happens to us after we die, but what we do with what we learn and what we can do to help. It's a huge responsibility and an amazing opportunity, and it all starts right now. We encourage you to keep thinking about these ideas. Ask questions. Think about how you can help make the world a better place both here and beyond. That's all for this deep dive.
I agree. Until next time, may your journey be full of purpose and wonder.